Ladies and gentlemen, confidence is not something you are born with. It is something you build, shape, and strengthen every single day. Every great leader, every successful entrepreneur, every inspiring speaker you've ever admired didn't simply wake up confident. Took deliberate steps, faced fears, overcame insecurities, and built themselves brick by brick into the person you see today. Every single person carries on a constant conversation with themselves. Some people don't even realize it. That voice in your head, whether it whispers or screams, is the single greatest influence on your confidence. You can dress well, you can achieve great things, you can even receive compliments from others. But if your inner dialogue is negative, critical, and destructive, you will always feel unworthy. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you stopped yourself from pursuing something because of the way you spoke to yourself? You wanted to apply for that opportunity. You thought, I'm not good enough. You wanted to speak up in a meeting, but your mind said, what if I embarrass myself? You wanted to approach someone with an idea, but that inner voice whispered, running through the park, they won't take me seriously. That voice has the power to either build you into someone unstoppable or break you down into someone invisible. Confidence begins by mastering that inner conversation. You must replace the language of limitation with the language of possibility. When you hear your inner critic say, you can't do this, train yourself to respond with, I will find a way. When doubt says, you're not ready, answer with, I am preparing every day, and I am more ready than I realize. Here's the truth. Running through the park, your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's repeated. The more you tell yourself you are capable, strong, worthy, and prepared, the more your brain begins to accept it as fact. This is why affirmations, journaling, and visualization are so powerful. They reprogram your inner voice to work for you instead of against you. Mastering your inner dialogue is not only about speaking positively to yourself. It's also about silencing the lies you've picked up from others. Running through the park, sometimes the voice in your head isn't even yours. It's the voice of a teacher who told you you'd never succeed, a parent who compared you to someone else, or a peer who laughed at your dreams. Without realizing it, you may be carrying those voices for years. To build unshakable confidence, you must recognize which voices belong to you and which voices you need to let go of. Once you reclaim that inner dialogue, you begin to walk differently. You approach challenges with courage instead of fear. You face setbacks with resilience instead of defeat. You no longer wait for external validation because your strongest source of validation comes from within. Remember this, the world will often reflect back to you the way you already see yourself. If you walk into a room doubting yourself, people will sense it. If you walk into that same room believing in yourself, people will feel it. And it all begins with how you talk to yourself before you take that first step. So, master your inner dialogue. Make yourself talk your greatest ally, not your biggest enemy. Because once you control the voice inside, no voice outside can control you. Most people live their entire lives trying to avoid failure. They treat failure as a disease, something shameful, something that must never be spoken of. They believe that failing means they are weak, unworthy, or destined to lose. But the truth is this: failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is the foundation of success. Every confident person you admire today has failed more times than most people have even tried. The difference is not that they were smarter, luckier, or more talented. It's that they embraced failure as part of their journey. They didn't see it as the end, they saw it as feedback. They didn't take failure as proof they weren't good enough, they took it as a signal of where they needed to grow. Think of Thomas Edison. He didn't invent the light bulb on his first attempt, or his 100th. In fact, he failed thousands of times. But when asked about it, Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's the mindset of someone who doesn't see failure as a dead end, but as a doorway. Failure teaches lessons that success cannot. Success can sometimes blind you into thinking you've mastered everything. But failure humbles you, sharpens you, and shows you exactly where your weaknesses lie. It forces you to adapt, to think differently, and to grow stronger. It is not your enemy, it is your greatest coach. But here's where most people go wrong. They let failure define their identity. They fail once, and instead of saying, "I failed at this," they say, "I am a failure." That small shift in language destroys confidence, because confidence is not about never falling. It's about knowing that even when you fall, you have the power to rise again. Ask yourself, what would you attempt if you knew failure wasn't the end? What risks would you take if you understood that every failure simply meant you were one step closer to success? When you reframe failure as a teacher, fear loses its grip on you. You start taking bolder actions, stepping into bigger opportunities, and daring to live fully, because you realize that every failed attempt is not wasted, it's progress. Each mistake builds resilience. Each rejection strengthens character. Each disappointment teaches you something about yourself that success never could. Here's a perspective shift. Failure is proof that you had the courage to try. The person who never fails is not superior. They're simply not playing the game at all. They're hiding, avoiding and protecting themselves from growth. The person who fails is the one who stepped into the arena, took the risk, dared to stretch beyond their comfort zone. That in itself is confidence. So, embrace failure. Do not fear it. Welcome it as a mentor, a guide, being stone. When something doesn't go your way, instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" When life knocks you down, instead of saying, "I'm done," say, "This is where I rebuild stronger." Because the most confident version of you is not the one who never failed. It is the one who failed, learned, grew, and rose higher every single time. Confidence without competence is like a house without a foundation. It may look strong from the outside, but it crumbles under the first storm. True, lasting confidence doesn't come from hype, empty affirmations, or pretending. It comes from knowing deep inside that you are prepared, skilled, and capable. Think about it when you walk into an exam fully prepared because you've studied for weeks. You feel calm, assured, and ready. When you walk in unprepared, even if you try to fake confidence, your body knows the truth. Your hands shake, your heart races, and doubt creeps in. Why? Because confidence without competence feels hollow. That's why competence is the backbone of confidence. The more you practice something, the more mastery you build. And the more mastery you build, the more naturally confident you become. It's not magic. It's simply repetition, learning, and refinement. The world often sees confidence as a personality trait, something extroverts have and introverts lack. But that's not true. Confidence is a byproduct of competence. When you know what you're doing, you don't need to shout about it. Your quiet certainty speaks louder than words. Look at any athlete. They don't walk into a competition confident because someone told them to. Believe in themselves. They are confident because they've trained relentlessly, put in hours. When no one was watching, they failed and adjusted. And they've built their skill to the point where belief becomes second nature. And this applies to every area of life. Want to be a confident speaker? Speak as often as you can, on stage, in meetings, in front of the mirror. Want to be confident in leadership? Small leadership roles, learn from mistakes, and gradually grow. Want to be confident in relationships? Practice communication, honesty, empathy. The secret is consistent action, not occasional effort. But here's where many people fall short. They want confidence instantly. They want to feel powerful before they've done the work. But confidence doesn't come before action. Confidence comes after action, repeated enough times until you prove to yourself that you can. You don't wait for confidence to begin. You begin. Confidence arrives through competence. And yes, the beginning is messy. You will stumble. You will make mistakes. You will feel uncomfortable. That's part of building competence. Think about when you first learned how to drive, ride a bike, or speak in a new language. At first, you were clumsy, nervous, and unsure. But with practice, you became smooth, natural, and confident. Why? Because action creates competence. Competence creates confidence. Here's the truth: preparation is power. If you want unshakable confidence, do the work behind the scenes. Read the books others don't read. Practice the skills others ignore. Show up daily, even when you don't feel like running through the park, because while others are wishing for confidence, you'll be building it. Confidence rooted in competence is unstoppable, cannot be shaken by criticism, because you know your skill speaks louder than opinions. It cannot be broken by fear, because you've proven to yourself that you are capable. It cannot be taken away, because competence is earned, not given. So if you want to become the most confident version of yourself, remember this: don't just try to look confident. Become competent. Invest in your growth, commit to consistent action, and mastery will take care of your confidence. Before you even open your mouth, before you say a single word, the world has already formed an impression of you. That impression is based not on your knowledge, running through the park, not on your achievements, but on your presence. Presence is the silent confidence that radiates through your posture, your body language, your eye contact, and the way you enter a room. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to scream it. People simply feel it. And that presence can either empower you or weaken you. Think about the times you've seen someone walk into a room. Without saying a word, they commanded respect. Heads turned. People noticed. Why? Because their body language declared, "I know who I am." That is the power of presence. Here's the truth: most people shrink themselves without realizing it. They walk hunched over, avoiding eye contact. Speaking too softly or fidgeting nervously, they send a message that says, "I'm unsure, I'm invisible, I don't want to take up space." And when you carry yourself that way, the world often believes you. Confidence begins with how you carry yourself physically. Stand tall, shoulders back, chin slightly lifted. Breathe deeply. Walk into every room as though you belong there, because you do. Your posture is not just about appearances, it sends signals to your brain. Studies in psychology show that when you adopt a confident posture, your body actually begins to feel more confident. Your physiology shapes your psychology. Eye contact is another powerful part of presence. When you look someone in the eyes, you're saying, "I see you, and I am not afraid to be seen." But when you avoid it, you appear uncertain. Confident people don't stare aggressively. They maintain steady, warm, and assured eye contact that builds trust and influence. Your voice, too, carries presence. A shaky, rushed, or quiet voice communicates doubt. But a steady, calm, and deliberate voice communicates certainty. And certainty inspires confidence in others. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room. You just have to speak with conviction. Now, presence is not arrogance. It's not about dominating, overpowering, or trying to impress. True presence is about alignment. It's when your body language, your voice, and your energy reflect the self-respect you have within. Arrogance says, "I'm better than you." Presence says, "I respect myself, and I respect you too." And here's the beautiful part: presence can be practiced. You can train yourself to walk with purpose, to stand tall, to hold eye contact, to speak with authority. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes, till it stops being something you do and starts being who you are. When you carry yourself with presence, people treat you differently. Opportunities open, respect is given. Doors that once seemed closed suddenly swing wide, not because the world has changed, but because you have changed the way you present yourself to the world. So, ask yourself, how do I show up when I walk into a room? Do I shrink or do I expand? Do I apologize for existing or do I carry myself with dignity and confidence? Remember this: your presence introduces you before your words ever do. Make sure it tells the world that you are confident, prepared, and worthy of being there. Confidence is not built in isolation. It is influenced, shaped, and either strengthened or weakened by the people around you. Whether you realize it or not, the company you keep is either feeding your self-belief or starving it. Think of it this way: every person in your life is like soil. You are the seed. If the soil is rich, nourishing, and supportive, you grow strong and thrive. But if the soil is toxic, full of weeds and draining, your growth becomes stunted no matter how much potential you have. That is the power of environment. The truth is, we often underestimate how much others influence us. Spend enough time around negative people, and you will start to adopt their doubts, fears, and limitations. You'll hear their voices so often that eventually they echo inside your own head. People who constantly criticize, mock, or belittle you don't just affect your mood, they erode your confidence over time. On the other hand, when you surround yourself with empowering people, those who encourage you, believe in you, and challenge you to rise higher, your confidence multiplies. Their words plant seeds of possibility in your mind. Their belief in you becomes contagious until you start believing in yourself on a deeper level. Ask yourself, who are the 5 people I spend the most time with? Because research shows that we often mirror the attitudes, habits, mindset of those closest to us. If you spend time with complainers, you start to complain. If you surround yourself with dreamers, doers, and believers, you begin to think and act like one too. Here's a powerful truth. You don't have to cut everyone off, but you must learn to set boundaries. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not everyone earns the right to shape your self-image. If someone constantly drags you down, limits your vision, or feeds your insecurities, you must protect your confidence by limiting their influence. That is not cruelty, that is self-respect. Now, surrounding yourself with empowering people is not just about finding cheerleaders who always agree with you. Real empowerment also comes from those who are honest enough to challenge you. People who hold you accountable, who call you out when you're slacking, who refuse to let you settle for mediocrity. These are the friends, mentors, and partners who elevate you. They don't tear you down, they lift you up by demanding your best. Think about the great achievers throughout history. Almost none of them did it alone. They had mentors, allies, teams, or communities that sharpened their skills and fueled their confidence. Even the strongest individuals draw strength from others. Confidence grows faster when you are in an environment that reflects back the greatness within you. So be intentional about your circle. Seek out people who inspire you, who are living examples of the kind of confidence and success you desire. Surround yourself with leaders, thinkers, creators, and believers. Join communities, groups, or networks that empower growth. Because when you walk with the confident, you learn their steps. And here's the final truth: the people around you should not only make you feel good, they should make you want to be good, do good, and achieve more. That is the true sign of empowering company. So choose wisely. Guard your environment, because confidence is not just what you build inside, It's also what is reinforced by those standing beside you. Comfort zones feel safe. They feel familiar. They are warm, predictable, and free of risk. But here's the brutal truth: nothing grows in the comfort zone. If you stay where it's safe, you will never discover the full strength, ability, and confidence that lies dormant inside you. Think about it. Every breakthrough in your life happened because you stepped into something uncomfortable. The first time you spoke in front of a group, the first time you tried a skill you didn't master yet, the first time you took a risk you weren't sure about. Those moments were uncomfortable. They stretched you. They shaped you. They built confidence you could never have gained by standing still. Confidence does not grow when everything is easy. It grows when you face the unknown and survive. Every time you step outside your comfort zone, you prove to yourself that you are stronger, braver, and more capable than you thought. And that proof is what fuels lasting self-belief. The problem is, most people wait until life forces them out of their comfort zone. They wait until a crisis comes, until circumstances change, until they have no choice but to adapt. But the confident person doesn't wait. They deliberately challenge themselves every day. They choose discomfort before discomfort chooses them. Here's the secret: you don't have to leap into massive risks all at once. Confidence is built by small, daily acts of courage. Speak up in a meeting when you usually stay silent. Strike up a conversation with someone new. Volunteer for a task you've never done before. Push yourself one step further in your workout. Each act may feel small, but together create a powerful momentum. Imagine this: if every single day you did just one thing that scared you a little, one thing that stretched you beyond your usual limits, how different would your life look a year from now? You would no longer fear growth. You would hunger for it. You would stop shrinking from opportunities. You would chase them. That is the compounding power of daily courage. Yes, stepping out of your comfort zone will trigger fear. Your mind will try to talk you out of it. It will whisper, "What if you fail? What if they laugh? What if you embarrass yourself?" But here's the truth: it's not a stop sign. It's a green light. It's proof that you're about to grow. Fear means you're standing on the edge of expansion. Every confident person has learned to reframe fear. Instead of saying, "I'm afraid, so I can't," they say, "I'm afraid, so I must." They understand that the very thing they fear is often the gateway to the confidence they crave. Think about the people you admire, the leaders, the visionaries, the role models. They are not confident because life handed them easy opportunities. They are confident because they dared to do what most people avoid. They've made discomfort their training ground. And here's the beauty: the more you step outside your comfort zone, the bigger your comfort zone becomes. What once terrified you eventually feels natural. What once seemed impossible becomes part of who you are. That's the cycle of growth. Fear turns into strength. Discomfort turns into confidence. So, make it a habit. Every single day, ask yourself, running through the park, what is one thing I can do today that will stretch me? It doesn't have to be huge, but it has to be intentional. Because confidence isn't built in a single bold act. It's built in consistent daily courage. Remember this: comfort is where dreams die. Discomfort is where confidence is born. Step outside daily and watch yourself transform into the boldest version of you. Final and most powerful step to becoming the most confident version of yourself is this: be unapologetically authentic. You see, many people spend their entire lives wearing masks. They pretend to be someone they're not, chasing acceptance, approval, or validation from others. They water themselves down to fit in. They silence their true voice to avoid judgment, and they trade authenticity for temporary belonging. Here's the truth: When you live this way, you may gain the approval of others, but you lose the most important approval of all, your own. And nothing destroys confidence faster than living a life out of alignment with who you really are. Authenticity means embracing your flaws, your quirks, your unique story, and your values without shame. It means refusing to live according to someone else's script. It means standing tall in your truth, even if the world doesn't fully understand it. And that is where unshakable confidence is born. Not in imitation, but in authenticity. Think about it, the most admired, respected, running through the park, and confident people in history were not those who tried to blend in. They were those who stood out. They were those who dared to be different, who dared to own their truth. From artists to leaders to innovators, their power came not from perfection, but from unapologetic authenticity. When you are authentic, you stop comparing yourself to others. You stop measuring your worth against someone else's highlight reel, because you understand that your journey is your own, your gifts are unique, and your value does not diminish simply because someone else shines. Confidence becomes natural when you no longer need to compete. You simply create, contribute, and live as yourself. But authenticity takes courage. It requires vulnerability. It means being willing to be misunderstood, criticized, or even rejected. And that's why many people hide behind masks. They fear that if they reveal their true self, they won't be loved. But here's the paradox. When you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one, not even yourself. But when you are authentic, you attract the people, opportunities, and experiences that are aligned with who you really are. And here's the key: authenticity is not about being perfect. It's about being real. Confident people don't pretend to have it all figured out. They are willing to admit mistakes, share struggles, and own their humanity. Honesty builds trust. That vulnerability draws people closer. That realness is magnetic. So how do you align with your authentic self? By asking yourself, what do I truly value? What matters most to me? Identify where in your life you are pretending, hiding, or living by someone else's expectations. Commit to making choices that honor your truth, even if they are unpopular. Learn to say no to what doesn't align, and a powerful yes to what does. When you do this, you stop living from a place of fear, and you start living from a place of freedom. And that freedom fuels confidence like nothing else. Because when you are authentic, there is no fear of being found out. You're not performing. You're simply being. The most confident version of you is not the one with the fanciest clothes, the most polished words, or the loudest presence. It's the version of you that walks in authenticity, knowing that who you are is more than enough. So align with your authentic self, seeking permission. Stop waiting for validation. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs the original version of you. And when you live in that truth, you won't just be confident, you will be unstoppable. Confidence is not built overnight. It's not a switch you flip. It is a journey, a process, a daily commitment. You've now discovered 7 powerful steps: mastering your inner dialogue, embracing failure as a teacher, developing competence through consistent action, carrying yourself with presence, surrounding yourself with empowering people, stepping outside your comfort zone daily, and finally, aligning with your authentic self. Each of these steps is a brick, and together they build the unshakable foundation of confidence. But here's the most important truth. Confidence is not about being better than anyone else. It's about being the best version of yourself, running through the park. It's about walking into the world without fear of judgment, without the need for permission, and without pretending to be someone you're not. So don't wait for the perfect moment to feel confident. Create it. Don't wait for someone else to validate you. Validate yourself. Don't wait for life to hand you confidence. Go out and build it, one step at a time, because the world doesn't need another person hiding in the shadows. The world needs the most confident, authentic, unstoppable version of you. And when you rise into that version of yourself, you don't just transform your own life. You give others permission to do the same. So go out, live boldly, and step fully into the confident version of you that was always meant to shine.